YouTube, how's everyone doing? Jags to Riches, James Peters, Game 6, NBA Finals, hours away. Boston Celtics are in a must win situation for the third time in these playoffs. Quickly, just want to recap Game 5 and honestly just spend a little bit more of the majority of the video speaking on just expectations for Game 6 tonight. Unfortunately, I'll be working tonight, so I won't be on the pregame show for Celtics Corner, so forgive me on that. Of course, you'll be in great hands with Bobby and the crew, so definitely check those guys and gals potentially out at just 8 p.m., something along those lines. But yeah, so I didn't want, obviously, with it being an elimination game, I didn't want, to not have the opportunity to speak prior because this could potentially be the last game of the season. And if so, I wanted to at least, speak beforehand and just kind of cover some bases. And I'll first just start right off the bat with just simply stating that I am so proud of this team. I just, when I was getting like prepared for this video, I just took a second to think like the Boston Celtics, they're in the NBA Finals right now, right? Now, to Golden State fans, that might not be as big of a deal. 6 out of the last 8 or something. So I don't know if you get numb to it. I mean, I guess probably not, but still, I think it's a different feeling when it's been over a decade of actually making it there. Think of like when Golden State went on like their first, when Curry was, Tatum's age when they were younger and, just starting to come up and winning those finals, like how exciting those days were. So I just took a second and just reflected on what a wild ass season this was and just the historic turnaround and just the lows at the beginning and then just the hope that started to get instilled in the mid part and then just the growth, through the trade deadline and the all-star break and just the brilliancy of Ime and Brad and everything they did to put this roster together, this team together, and then to bring them together and just to throw out all the distractions of break up the Jays. Remember that was a real thing? Break up the Jays, trade Marcus Smart. He's not a real point guard. That was a bad contract with him and Rob. There was just so much negativity around the team, and it's just Al Horford's washed. He's too old. Rob Williams is injury prone. Grant, you got to get rid of him. Like, there were so many things. And for this team to have battled the way they have and to still be only 2 games away from winning a championship is still a little surreal. I'm extremely proud of this team, led by 24-year-old Jason Tatum, 25-year-old Jaylen Brown, and then a core of a bunch of guys, Smart, Williams, Grant Williams. I mean, a bunch of guys, Derek White, that for the most part are going to be signed. They're all in their early to mid 20s for the most part. And they're going to all be together for the next several years. So very exciting time to be a Boston Celtics fan. And again, very proud of them. And for some of the storylines I was seeing, like about the Tatum and Brown are being exposed. And so it's like the same shit that, Draymond and Clay, and it's kind of like the shit that was getting thrown at on the Golden State Jordan Poole when they were down at the beginning. Who the hell criticizes 2 teams playing in the NBA Finals? Like, imagine that. Really? These are the last 2 teams standing in a Game 6. No team got swept. This has been a battle, a competitive ass series between the 2 best teams in the league representing their conferences, and people are talking shit about getting exposed? What? How does... This team swept KD and Kyrie in the first round. They then beat the defending champs in a 7-game instant classic series. Then they beat Miami, who was just in the finals a year and a half ago. It's like in another 7-game series with Jimmy Butler, who is about, I mean, we've seen what that, anyways. So I think that's trash. But again, guys, looking at Game 6 tonight, it is a must win for the Celtics. I mentioned they were 3-0 while facing elimination games, which was the game 6 and 7 against the Bucks. Remember, we went down 3-2 against Milwaukee, and we had to go to Milwaukee in game 6 and win that game. Oh, and by the way, that was a game where Jason Tatum, I believe, had possibly his best game of the entire playoffs, where he went for 46 points. And you might say it was an off night by the Bucks. No, Giannis had 44 points, 20 rebounds 9 assists or 6 assists. So 44 points, 20 rebounds in that game 6 elimination. And we still ended up pulling it off. So, and then going to the game 7 and won there, and then as well as the game 7 against Miami. So 3-0 while facing elimination games, so I feel like Golden State has continued to show their championship pedigree throughout these, this series. And what I mean by it's just the response. They've always responded brilliantly. Anytime a little bit of adversity or they would go down, they would come back, storming, and I'm hoping basically the same for the Celtics tonight. Obviously, unfortunately, we got that back-to-back loss, snapped that streak. In fact, I think I seen something where it was stating that was the first back-to-back loss, since March 28th and March 30th. I'm like, Jesus. So the thing I think they just need to have that sense of urgency, which I believe they will. They'll be at the Garden. They'll have their fans behind them. And they have responded well under pressure. I mean, this has been a team that this entire year, they have proved everyone wrong, continued to prove everyone wrong, right? They were a 10th seed below 500, at the turn of the year. So it's like to battle all the way back to the 2nd seed. Remember in the opening round, they thought we were crazy for taking on Brooklyn. That's not a typical 7th seed, blah, blah, blah. You need to tank. We swept their asses. They didn't think we were going to beat the Bucks. We beat them. Same with Miami. We beat them, right? Then you had these clowns locked on Golden State, the podcast, saying that they were going to sweep us. We shouldn't even be there, mispronouncing our players' names. Like, half the damn players' names are named after colors, you asshole. Brown, white, like, stop William. Like, and then Williams. It's like, stop acting like this is like Peja Stojakovic and, all kinds of exotic names. Like, so just being disrespectful. So, again, guys, this team has continued to prove the doubters wrong. And they have continued to respond, in which I do believe they will tonight. But I mean, what is disappointing to me is that you didn't capitalize on that game 5. And looking at the box score here, you had Steph Curry with only a 16-point night, 0 for 9 from 3. And you essentially let Andrew Wiggins, 26 points, 13 rebounds. Now, I've seen, of course, having a good game, the narrative is now he's the second best player in this series, even though coming into this game, he was averaging right around, I think, 15 or something like that in the previous 4. He has been great. I'm not saying anything. He's definitely been the second best on their team. But, I mean, come on, guys. Like, now, people still forget he was an all-star starter. So, coming into this series, Wiggins was definitely an X factor. As far as for Golden State, and he has responded, on both ends of the floor. I mean, he's been rebounding great. And in a night where Curry only goes for 16, for him to do 26, and then of course Clay, 21 points. And I mean, Clay is putting together a couple, right? 21, 18, 25, so several strong games in a row for him. But then you look at the bench, they have Jordan Poole, 14 points in 14 minutes. Then you have Gary Payton, who's been excellent, especially, obviously on the defensive end, but 26 big minutes. And then he has 15 points. I mean, he's 6 for 8. So, I mean, just a strong effort from them. Draymond, 8 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 0 for 2. He still has not hit it. What is he, 0 for 11 now? Lord have mercy. But, of course, the adjustment starting Otto Porter. Now, when you look at the Celtics side of it, Jason Tatum, 27 points. He was 10 for 20 from the field, so 50%. He was 5 for 9 from the 3. Good night shooting, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. He did have 4 turnovers. And if you look at Jaylen Brown, 18 points. He was 0 for 5 from the 3, 5 for 18 from the field. Tough shooting night, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He did have 5 turnovers. Marcus Smart with 20 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, also 4 turnovers. Rob Williams, 10 points, 8 rebounds. When you look at Al Horford, 9 points, 9 rebounds. But what's very disappointing is when you look at the bench, you see, 10 total combined points. Grant had 3 of them. Luke Cornett had 3 of them. Aaron Nesmith had 3 of them. And then Derek White had the other 1 point. That is unacceptable. When you look back at Golden State and you see right here, when you got a Jordan Poole, 14 points in 14 minutes, and Gary Payton with 15, right? That's 29 points right there. That's basically tripled in those 2 players. I mean, Derek White, I'm not trying to shit on him too bad because he has been solid. 21 points in game one. Then he had a 12-pointer. Then he had a 16. But for him to have only 1 point, in 21 minutes, negative 13, Grant, same thing. I mean, we just need more. And I think this is one of those things. It still shows like that this team, we still have holes. Of course, every team does. And I mean, this could be one of them. Points off of the bench. Obviously the bench depth, in general, but shooting, vets, etc. But I mean, again, it's just one of those things when I'm just disappointed around the fact that Curry having that type of night, which probably doesn't happen again. Let's remind 34 points in game one, 29, 31, 43, and then 16. So even if he has, a subpar game six in the Garden, we still have to go back and win a game in Cali. And chances are he probably doesn't have back-to-back shitty games. But then again, we will have to see. Steph has been tremendous, best player in this series by far, finals MVP. Steph has been excellent. He's been incredible. But at the same time, Tatum, again, having his worst series by far, very inefficient. And I mean, I did a whole rant after game four, I believe, or game five. After game four, I did a full rant on him, and I don't really want to spend too much more time invested on shitting on my boy. But essentially, guys, looking at tonight, I mean, again, it goes back to my man Stephen A. Smith and his quote, the Boston Celtics beating themselves. Look at that last game, 10 missed free throws. Or that's 67% from the from the free throw line, 67%. What about the 18 turnovers? They had as many turnovers as they did assists. It goes back, like I said, the Celtics beating themselves. And it's things like this. Every one of their losses, I think, except for the game two or one of the games that got smacked, had pretty much been by 10 points or less. Like, we've been right there, quarter by quarter breakdown. Game five, it was 27-16 at the end of the first. It was 39-51 at half, Golden State. We then had a 35-24, outscore in the third to bring it to 74-75 going into the fourth. Now, unfortunately, it opened on a 10-0 run. We shot 4 for 15 from the field, 4 turnovers, and we're outscored 29-20 ball game. And that's, that's pretty much it. Again, free throws, turnovers, the same thing we have preached constantly. I mean, this is nothing new. It's nothing new, guys. We have talked about this ad nauseum about what it is that, I mean, this is their Achilles heel. It's themselves. And is that, maturity, youth, the fact that, I mean, they're still growing. Obviously, this is their first time for any of these players in the finals. And I'm not making any excuses right now. And the reason being is because I do expect the Boston Celtics to respond and get a victory tonight. I think that one interesting fact is if you look at all of the losses we've had, they've held us under 100 points, which is, kind of, what we've been known for. So I think that we break that tonight. I think we get a 112 to a 100-ish victory, evening up the series at 3 apiece, bringing it back to Cali for a game 7 winner take all. And that's when I think it gets very interesting, because I think, again, we win tonight. And I think that game 7 sets up Curry for maybe one of his greatest performances ever. I think that in order for us to win this championship, we obviously have to win tonight. And then we will have to deal with Curry probably doing something, magical in front of his, fans. I mean, in his home court. So it is a tough road. I think this team, I heard, has played over 105 games, definitely fatigued. You can see that they've started to, they look like they're fading. At the end of that last game, they looked like they were fading to me. But we'll just have to see, guys. I mean, we'll have to see. They got to get through tonight. Let's focus on that before we even get to the game 7. Fortunately, if they get to the game 7, I will be available for the pregame show this upcoming Sunday. And speaking of the pregame show, Celtics Corner, guys, I love and miss you all. Make sure that you're tuning in tonight. I want to say probably 8 p.m. for the pregame show. I'll make sure I have the link down in the description or somewhere. Just look below. But go check out Bobby and the rest of the crew over there. Obviously, that is without question the best pregame show on the tube without, I mean, it's not even a debate. So definitely go show those guys some love over there. Again, thank you all so much for your time. Big game 6 tonight. Must win for our Boston Celtics. Is it all over? Does Golden State capture another victory, or do the Boston Celtics respond and force a game 7? Thank you all so much for your time. Jags to Riches, James Peters. I hope you have an excellent conclusion to your week and an even better weekend. Go Celtics. Take care.